Republican gubernatorial nominee Bob McDonnell. First of all, Bob, thank you for joining us. I know your schedule is busy, so we appreciate you working out the time.
Glad to be on, Ryan.
The first question I have for you is obviously the most consistent criticism that you've received from the Deeds campaign is over this thesis that you wrote when you were in graduate school. He says that it's an example of a rigid, conservative agenda that you've tried to enact over your career. How would you respond to that claim?
Well, I'd say my opponent's running a very backwards-looking and negative campaign. You know, I've been talking about very positive ideas on creating new jobs and economic development and creating new energy and transportation jobs here in Virginia, and so he's left with talking about a 20-year-old college paper. I think, you know, I've been in office now for 18 years. I've got an extensive record on everything from criminal justice to tax to welfare policy. And I'd say the best response to that, Ryan, would be the fact that as Attorney General, 90% of the ideas that I presented to the General Assembly got passed. My opponent voted for 98% of them. So I say that's a pretty good record of bipartisan accomplishment, and so I say it's just pretty much empty rhetoric to say what he's saying.
Let's talk about one of your plans, your transportation plan, which has been his other big criticism of you. He's called it a shell game. He says that you're just taking funding away from really important programs, specifically education. Do you think that's the case? Are you taking money from education to fund transportation?
No, absolutely not. My opponent, first of all, has no transportation plan, as most of the major newspapers have indicated. He said, get me elected and I'll put together a commission and we'll find a way to raise taxes. That's not leadership. It's not a plan. I've outlined, because I know this is serious. This is a serious issue. I've lived in Fairfax. I've lived in Hampton Roads too, and now I live here in Richmond area. These are significant things that need to be addressed. So I've outlined detailed plans with bonds and public-private partnerships and taking money from the general fund, selling our ABC stores offshore. Drilling proceeds, and the money that's coming from the general fund is a small percentage, maybe 1.5%, but I want to grow the pie, not just carve up the pie differently and take money from any particular area, and you can take money from any number of areas, and Tree knows that's not true. We passed a bill in 2007, some money came from transportation, he voted for it, and so again, I think that's just not a fair argument.
You need to raise $1 billion. I've heard you use that figure before.
That's right.
And you specifically talk about revenue from offshore drilling. This is a problem that needs to be fixed right away.
Yeah.
Offshore drilling could be maybe decades away. How can you base part of your plan on the idea that you're going to get revenue from offshore drilling right away?
Well, my plan is going to have $1.4 billion fully phased in. It's 12 different ideas, only one of which is offshore. And I've conceded, look, we're going to be the first state in America to drill offshore on the East Coast in 2011 if I'm governor. We're already scheduled to do that. I'll keep it on track. It's going to be hundreds of millions of taxes and royalties. But I agree, that's going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 years before we see money. But all these other ideas that I've outlined, Ryan, will generate the rest of that $1.4 billion. Many of them will be able to be done right now in the first year with General Assembly approval, some federal approval for tolling authority, and we're going to get right to work in year one.
And you can realistically do that without raising any taxes. You can make that pledge.
Yeah, I think governing is about leadership. You know, when I was Attorney General, I managed a $33 billion budget. Tough times, I had to cut 14%. Good times, we'll add back. But it's all about setting priorities. I've been a business manager. I've got a master's degree in business. I've learned to make those tough decisions. And we've got areas of the budget that we can work better with more innovation and consolidation and privatization, and put the savings into things like higher education and transportation. I can get it done. $76 billion of your taxpayer money we're spending every year, every 2 years. I'd say we just need to do it better.
You've taken a lot of heat from a moment on the campaign trail with your prominent supporter, Sheila Johnson, where she seemed to be mocking your opponent's speech. You haven't apologized for that, even though the Deeds campaign has almost demanded that you do. Do you think that the way she was talking was inappropriate and wrong?
Well, I think this is yet another example of the Deeds campaign not focusing on the things that are really important, jobs and the economy and things like that. Sheila issued an apology for what she said, but her whole point was that after meeting with both me and with Senator Deeds, that he was not able to put together a detailed, forward-looking plan on the things that were important to Virginians. That was her point. Now, she said it in a way that she's apologized for, and I think she's made her apology. Even Governor Kane said it's time to move on. So we're moving on. Sheila Johnson is one of the most prominent business ladies in America. She understands what it takes to create jobs and economic development, and that's why she's supporting me. And I think the fact that a career Democrat like Sheila, who supported both Tim Kaine and Barack Obama, is now said, I'm the best guy, is really the bigger point.
Last question for you. Were you to win on November 3rd, you'd almost automatically become a prime candidate for the GOP nomination for president. Will you make a commitment right now that were you to win on November 3rd, that you'll you'll stay for your entire 4-year term and not run for president in 2012.
Listen, absolutely. I think those are all pipe dreams down the road, and I know there's a lot of national political pundits that are paying an exceptional amount of attention to Virginia this year. But I'm running to be governor of Virginia. This is a state I've lived in virtually my whole life. I love this state. We've got great opportunities ahead for the state to create more opportunity and prosperity for our citizens in so many ways, and I'm fully committed to 4 years as Virginia governor.
You'll be there from the start right to the end.
Absolutely, yes. We need a full-time governor.
All right. Thank you, Bob McDonnell. I appreciate you joining us.
Okay.